I have the honor of having Shri Kishore and Kumbare, who is the Chief Risk Officer and Chief General Manager at the India Infrastructure Finance Company Limited. And before joining this India Infrastructure Finance the company, he was with the National Housing Bank for 25 years. And his last position at that bank was at the Deputy General Manager. And right now he is at India Infrastructure Finance, and which is into the financing of the infrastructure. So in this conference we have, from the morning, we have like discussed about microfinance. We have discussed about the NBFC for retail loans, consumer loans, and right now we are like going ahead and discussing about infrastructure finance. So Kumareji, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And my first question to you is that you have worked in the field of housing finance for around 25 years, and now you are into infrastructure finance. So how are these two similar or different in like some ways, if you can elaborate?
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. See, housing finance is entirely different from infrastructure.
Just keep this nearby, yeah.
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 When you look at housing finance, usually refers to the retail lending. But in infrastructure, it is a corporate lending, and it is lending to the specific project. So in that way, it is entirely in risk perception or lending parameters, it is entirely different. Of course, in housing finance, there has been, when National Housing Bank has incorporated, there has been a lot of changes has happened, and initially in old days, when National Housing Bank came into the picture, there has been many housing finance company promoted by commercial banks. And subsequently, there has been a lot of changes and a lot of regulatory parameters has, keep changing. And last 7 to 8 years, there has been push to the retail lending by the government of India by way of PMAY, and PMAY has got 4 parameters, but I will not refer to other affordable housing and but on retail side, there has been a lot of push to this. And when I was with National Housing Bank, till that time NHB could disburse subsidy of 39,000 crores. So just you can imagine that what was the quantum, and that scheme has with modified form now still continues. Coming to the infrastructure sector, again, I have got privilege to work with National Housing Bank and then IIFCL. IIFCL also came into picture in 2006. It is 18 years from now. There was no infrastructure financing institution in the country. There has been REC, PFC or IRDA, such kind of institution. They were catering to the specific segment, but for road or for power sector or for airport or port or urban infrastructure, there was nothing like. Then when infrastructure, government felt that infrastructure finance is required, and it was primarily catered or financed by commercial bank. So government came out with the one company, the SPV, that is IIFCL. And IIFCL during last 18 years, of course, there has been a lot of challenges in infrastructure. It is not similar to housing finance. But this sector has now, I would say that doing well. And in fact, NPA level, which used to happen in 14-15%, now brought down to 1-1.5% range. So there has been 2 different kind of, I would say, sectors. Of course, affordable housing is a part of infra, but none of the infrastructure finance companies is financing to those projects.
Sure. And your organization, IIFCL, is playing a crucial role in enabling infrastructure and development of the country. What are some of the unique risks involved in infrastructure financing compared to the traditional financing, if you can elaborate on that.
Again, infrastructure lending, how many institutions are there, and risk parameter is limited to those institutions. But it is evolving sector again, and risk management is not reactive nowadays, it is proactive. We have to have proactive action towards our risk management. I'll just, I have quoted in many events. One of the project was there, Tista project, you might have heard, on Tista River. It was thermal power, hydropower project, and it came for risk assessment. So usually what we see that credit risk, market risk, or liquidity risk, or environmental risk, such kind of risk. But when we assess that project, we did mention that riverine flood is the biggest risk there. And that project got approved by the IFCL, and before we issue the sanction letter, that disaster has happened. And we got a letter from the government, you just write it up, and we have to take about 2,500 crore exposure there. So this is one part. Now, evolving risk parameter, when we do the risk assessment, apart from this risk liquidity or credit, but environmental, nowadays, everybody is cautious about ESG risk. What is ESG? ESG everybody refers to, but environmental, social, and governance. Governance part we can leave aside initially, but there are environmental risks, and within environmental there are climate risks. So what is the climate risk level is there? So here in IFCL, I'll take your question on this separately, but we have been cautious, and before the government announces or RBI came out draft direction, we have already put in place such kind of mechanism and assessment mechanism, impact assessment. So that will, I'll discuss subsequently in detail.
Sure. In fact, you highlighted about the ESG. ESG is a very, very important and hot topic globally and also in India. And in terms of like financing, how ESG is important, why it is important, and how is this ESG risk or ESG incentives also are being looked at by various government initiatives. So like how are you like factoring all these things?
See, ESG has got three components: environmental, social, and governance. Again, when we talk about ESG, everybody is not, many of us not aware about what are ESG risks. Forget about environmental, but emerging risk is climate risk. And climate risk has physical risk, within that acute risk or chronic risk, and transition risk. So housing sector may not have that kind of risk, but when we look at particularly infrastructure sector and particular sector like thermal power project, transition risk too high. It is extremely high risk category. Tomorrow government comes out with some direction or policy regulation, or you limit your ESG emission. So we need to have transition. So in transition, that is the biggest risk, and my project may not work, or I may have to incur additional cost. So when infrastructure lending happens based on cash flow, and cash flow get impacted, then project may not be viable. So it is very thin line between viability and unviable projects.
So today is the age of AI, and people say that AI can predict the future with the basis of the past data. So in many of the past discussions in our first half, there were discussions where the speakers were talking about they are able to predict the customer behavior or analyze the customer behavior and predict that what is the type of loan that a person needs. So in your segment, of course, which is like a large scale funding, are there any emerging usage of AI to like any predict the behavior of your loan or anything like that?
Infrastructure sector is very focused sector. And when we talk about AI, use of AI, yes, use of AI for prediction in my default probability or cash flow generation capacity or new emerging policies, parameters, Now government has announced, RBI has announced disclosure norm, and government is coming out with policy on climate taxonomy. So these are the emerging things, but AI will have to predict based on the availability of data. Particularly when I talk about ESG segment or sector, where is the data? If I ask how many riverine flood has happened, what is risk, what is the precipitation or transition risk, how much it has impacted, none of this, even rating agency doesn't have any data. So what we have done this to take care of or mitigate this risk, we develop our own model for 783 districts. We came out with 8 parameters for physical risk and another 3 parameters for transition risk. And these 11 parameters, we are seeing particular district wise, what is the risk there and how much it is going to impact. Apart from usual provisioning, so we have assigned our weightage to this every risk, and we are suggesting that you take this mitigation mechanism, or you take this action, or adaptation policy is required. So this way we have been dealing with this such kind of aspect.
Fantastic. So you have mentioned about like district-wise risk rating using various parameters. So if I may ask you that, what do you think are the top 3 risks that Indian infrastructure financier has to be prepared for over the next 5 years?
See, every district may not have riverine flood or storm water or heat waves, or every district has got different kind of risk parameters. So we have identified in 780, in fact it is 786 districts, but we have identified the 3 districts recently split. But 783 districts, we have got district-wise data and state-wise data. When I do some assessment, what is the risk and how my pricing methodology will be towards to mitigate those risks. So I'll be charging little extra premium, 10 basis, 20 basis point or 50 basis point. So we have been handling such a way that tomorrow, but again, only sector, high sector in infrastructure is electricity generation, and that is thermal power. Solar doesn't have any, wind doesn't have, or hydro power project, they have got different kind of riverine flood and all. So we have to deal with the specific project, specific risk, and assign the risk parameter and price accordingly.
Sure. And is there any scope for public-private partnership to better manage risk and unlock the capital for infrastructure?
Yes. See, all the projects has got PPP model. All the projects, state government may have, or government may have their own infrastructure sector, but when we are lending or any infrastructure finance, hardly 10 companies are there. So 9-10 companies, they are lending into they are lending to PPP project. Now risk sharing happens because we are lending in consortium. None of the banks is going to take entire risk, or any other financial institution or IFC. Who all are lender there? NBFCs, IFCs, and banks. And again, ratio came down. It is 44% for banks, 45%, and infrastructure finance companies 56. So there is collaborative action is required. Again, partnership happens through partial credit guarantee as well. So we have been, in case if we are not lending to those projects, we are putting, giving that guarantee, and guarantee is helping the project company or SPV to get the higher rating and bring down the cost.
Fantastic. Is there any questions or inputs in the audience? Anyone wants to have? Maybe this topic has been like too
Out of context.
Out of perhaps context, because most of the people here are of this background of like retail lending and stuff like that. But
or maybe too clear for everyone.
yeah. So,
So do we have a question here?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Can I see your hand raise here? No, I think the topic is pretty clear to all of us.
Yeah. So let me ask you that in last decade almost, there has been infrastructure boom in the country. The number of highways being developed, number of infrastructure projects being developed has been like tremendously high. So what is the landscape of infrastructure lending right now in the country? Who are the other important players?
Yes.
And how are you competing or collaborating with them?
Okay.
If you can elaborate that.
See, infrastructure, very limited lenders are there. And again, I said 55% being catered by the infrastructure finance company. See, there has been boom till 2006. There has been a lot of issues with government policies, concession agreement. Maybe some of them may be aware of this terminology, concession agreement. And government has thought of this, and subsequently IFCL partner with the government and change entire infrastructure, particularly for road projects. Earlier, road project used to happen toll-based or taught or bought, built, operate, and transfer. Now, that is old days story now. Now, all the projects are coming with hybrid annuity model. What happens there? 40% funding is assured by the concessionaire. Concessionaire, I mean, like in case of road project, NHAI. They provide 40% funding and 60% brought by the, but toll is given to the, toll is decided by the NHAI that this much toll sharing will be there. So based on that, they are bidding. And during last 7-8 years, I'm with IFCL for last 4 years. That time NPA level used to be 19%, 19.20% for IFCL. But this changes has happened over a period that has helped the lender to have assured cash flow and their repayment is assured. So now for IFCL perception, our NPA level is 1.1%, just 1.1%, and 30 basis point is net NPA. So what has happened in the past, we have learned from those stories. Now coming to what you said, how it is transforming. Our government came out with 500 gigawatt solar power project, solar power. Till now, 240 megawatt already issued the order or under process. 50, around 250 to 60 gigawatt, again, we have to create the capacity. What is the funding requirement? Whether these 8 companies or 9 companies are there going to have funding for this project. If you see, today, again, we had a meeting in RBI and they wanted how to increase the funding for infra project. If I see that government report, they are assessing around 32 lakhs to 34 lakh crore for remaining power projects. So with put together all the banks and infrastructure finance company, infrastructure lending is just around 30 lakh crore, 30 trillion only, INR term. So again, putting that 32 trillion or 35 trillion, it is not the easy job. Secondly, government came out with national infrastructure pipeline. Government has estimated 111 lakh crore for that, 111 trillion crore, trillion for that, those projects. Now that cost has gone up to 120 trillion. So where is the funding? We need many more institutions, similar institutions. But in the past 1 year, new projects are, I don't see there is speed in new project coming in. So government is also cautious, but only this can be targeted. State government will have to come forward and they can take lead of this, some of the state government, particularly in the state of Maharashtra and now UP. They are coming out with a lot of such projects, and on solar, Kerala or Tamil Nadu, they are on the top, Gujarat. So other state has got that capacity to develop again.
Fantastic. So I think we had some great inputs and ideas on this infrastructure financing. Thank you, Kishorji.
Thank you very much.